Hey everybody, Dr. Kevin McGovern here from Velocity RX. Does your pitching program or pitching coach have a roadmap to success, a mission, or any kind of benchmarks for your success? If you want to hear mine, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and today is another episode of the Velocity RX podcast. And today we are talking about benchmarks and how programs can be built from the ground up, or what we're looking at as far as goals. So I'm going to share my screen, but before I do that, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please like this and subscribe to my channel. It helps get my message out. My mission is to help save 1 million arms, and I can't do it alone. I need everyone's help. So please like, subscribe, or whatever you have to do. Thanks. So for those of you, I'm going to share my screen right now, who may not know my story. I tore my ulnar collateral ligament playing in a men's league game after college, making a throw from first to third base. Felt this crunch in my elbow, and basically I needed Tommy John surgery. But at the time, I'm a newly graduate from physical therapy school. I've got tons of bills, tons of loans. There's no way. First of all, you can't be a therapist with one arm, be a manual therapist. That'd be kind of difficult. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I basically needed two arms. So, make a long story short, I decided it'd be a great idea to rehab myself. After about a year or so of rehabbing, I thought it'd be even a better idea if I went back to playing baseball, specifically pitching. And I basically taught myself how to throw without essentially using my arm or stressing on my arm. And I threw, I was like 25 or 26 when I tore my UCL, and I threw till I was about 44 years old. So I was able to do it, and that is where Velocity RX came from. So looking at this pyramid, Velocity RX is essentially built from a rehab point. So on the left, our current condition, everyone fits in to one of these four levels. So someone may come in at the top. They've got pretty good mechanics. They've got a good arm care program, and maybe their pitching level exceeds their age. And what they're looking for is different than, say, what someone may come in at the bottom level who is injured. So let's start there. So a lot of people first come to see me when they are injured, when they have a growth plate or a UCL injury or arm tightness, neck, shoulder, and they're essentially at the bottom of the pyramid. And they would have, these three characteristics: acute joint pain, poor past mechanics. Okay, so in the past they had bad mechanics and they're really unable to throw. So what's the goals of what's happening at this level? Number one is my game test. And for those who don't know about that, that stands for Graded Active Movement Exam. And that is basically a test I kind of invented to measure the initial sequence of human movement. And everybody has that in common. I do, LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, everyone has an initial sequence of movement because that's essentially how the human body is built. And when we get out of that initial sequence of movement, kind of bad things happen. We can become injured, we can lose athleticism. So everybody, I don't try to use all and every, but everyone who comes to see me, or really walking the face of the earth, no one moves exactly neurologically correct, or I wouldn't really have a job. So the game test measures basic movements, squat, lunge, single leg deadlift, and then I've got a couple of upper extremity tests that are unique to me. So everyone is brought through the game test, and the game test is scored, all right, so that we can have a benchmark, and then as we go further, be able to see improvement. So at that point, we do a game test and we come up with an assessment. Okay, the following movements are wrong. And usually 99% of the time, there is something in that game test that correlates directly with that injury. There's some movement that is wrong, that the body has kind of circumvented, that is a direct cause of what's happening in that player's shoulder and elbow. Now, that's not the whole cause, but there's definitely one bucket that there's a cause that has to do with their human movement. So then we start to move on to the mechanical rebuild. Okay. You get injured because something is wrong with your mechanics. Now, it's not the only cause of injury, but it's a huge component that essentially, if you accelerate your arm against gravity, like all these inverted W and M and T positions where the arm is internally rotated, pronated, and well behind your body, there's no way that you can have proper timing to get your arm only accelerating when it's downhill. Okay. So we can look back at mechanics and see, oh, yeah, there is where he accelerated his arm well behind him, putting all of the stress on the medial component of the elbow. So at this point, we're looking for what is failed in functional movement, what has failed in pitch mechanics, and now we're starting to reboot the arm and the movements. And the goal for this phase is that we've got a pretty good handle on basic movements. We got a pretty good handle on posture awareness, and we're doing home functional exercises on a daily basis to improve the whole body, not just the arm, the hips, the back, everything having to do with pitching. As we move up to the performing level, this is now where we begin. I have a game pitch test. You'll see that on the top here, but right around between the mechanical rebuild and the performing, we take a game pitch test. And the game pitch test is I have 9 biomarkers. We take video, and I have the 9 biomarkers and movements that should occur to produce a healthy pitcher. That the goal is that they're using their entire body and their arm is only used in a position of gravity assistance to throw downhill. So we take that test somewhere between mechanical rebuild and the performing level. But in this level, now we have mechanics that are improving. We'll start to talk about different pitches and they're gaining endurance. So they're on the mound or they're on flat ground and they're throwing, okay? And now we're working on high-end movements and neurologically correct movement and strength patterns. That this is a pretty good at, if you stopped here at performing, you would do really well and stay healthy for a long time. Now, the goal, obviously, is that we have got neurologically correct mechanics, a bulletproof arm, and then we're excelling for our age group beyond our age group. Now, a bulletproof arm, as we know, a bulletproof vest is not 100%. And you can't just have a bulletproof arm by just arm care exercise. It has to be the whole package. You have, if you've got a completely strong arm and you throw over and over again with bad movement, you're going to get hurt, right? So it's kind of the whole package together as an athlete. And at this goal, someone has passed the game test. There are 3 levels, but they've passed the basic game test. They've passed the pitch test, and now they're independent with their arm care program. And in the goal phase is where now we can really start to work on increasing velocity, throwing different pitches to different sides of the plate, at different heights. And also in this phase is where I take a sense away. That's right, you heard that correctly. My players, so as a person from 60 feet, probably from 50 feet on flat ground, I'll have them throw to a target blindfolded. Okay. I've worked with blind athletes, and I learned a lot from them that we don't need our sight to hit a target to move. What we need is repeatable movement. Okay. And sometimes when you close your eyes, your body kind of will take over and go kind of on autopilot. And some people will say, wow, I feel different throwing blindfolded. Like I don't have the stress or I don't have the anxiety, that I can just kind of relax and let my body do what I've trained it to do. So I do a lot of work with blindfolded, and that increases our kinesthetic sense of strikes. So that's essentially what I call it a pyramid of recovery. We can call it a pyramid of athleticism, whatever it is. But this would be, someone coming into the program at whatever of the 4 levels, and then leaving with a specified goal that we can all agree on. So at the end of the day, my goal is to save 1 million arms. And I do that from a movement first perspective. Okay. We can't build an athlete on a bad base of human movement. All right. I just did a camp the other day of 12-year-olds for a Little League World Series, a Williamsport team. And the most glaring thing that I always see in that age group are kids that are really uncoordinated. You know, they're at or just started puberty. They're growing at all different kind of level. And, you know, even doing a basic squat, even to like get in the batter's box and get into a load position is very difficult. And I find this more now than I did 20 years ago because everyone playtime isn't outside in a ball field. Okay. Those are empty. You drive by basketball courts, baseball fields, you're going to see a lot of them empty compared to what you did 25 and 30 years ago. Now they're on their phone or their Xbox and they're instead of pretending outside in the wiffle ball field that they're Shohei Ohtani, they're actually being Shohei Ohtani in their living room or their bedroom. So kids don't get the repetitive of movement, of athletic movements outside playing. And the only time they actually do something is an organized activity. And if that organized activity is not stressing proper functional movement, and we try to add athletic movements on top of that, that's essentially trying to build a building with a very poor foundation. And what's going to happen is that building is going to come down. So that kid or student athlete is going to lose athleticism and has a really, really good chance of being hurt. So my program is built on correcting human movement first, and we spend a ton of time on that as we drip in mechanical changes. And when we work on human movement first, when we put a mechanical change in, you see immediate results. So it's kind of like an inverted pyramid, right? We start here and then the results kind of grow in many different ways. So if your child is in a pitching program, make sure that they are doing functional movement correction. Okay, not just strength and conditioning, not just go and do all these exercises. At the age group of, you know, kind of 12 to 15 to 16, they really, really, really need to be supervised in what they are doing. This is a very, very crucial age of growth, of puberty, and all kinds of things happening. And we really need to lay down the building blocks of proper movement. Once you get that, then you can add athletic movements on top of that. So that's it for today. Again, like and subscribe. Visit my website at velocityrx.org and check out my YouTube page. I got lots of good videos. You can also, from the website, drop me a line of any questions. And thanks for listening and hope to see you again soon.